And the reason I wanted to show you that, I thought it was a nice bridge from all this physical materialistic stuff we've been talking about the physical brain and the different functions. And we didn't even get into all the chemical reactions and all of that, which is going to have a huge impact. But many of you had asked to talk a little bit about some of the Eastern meditation techniques and things of that nature. And so I have a little sampler for you, and I'll move quickly because the evening's getting away from us. Meditation techniques for altering the mind. And I went ahead and made two columns because I thought it might be helpful for a lot of you, because we often think of meditation as something that comes from the East or Eastern traditions and religions, but there's all sorts of traditional meditation techniques in the West. Many people practice contemplation, which it could be like focusing on the attributes of God or meditating on scripture or walking in nature, or it could be just a set disciplined contemplation on a specific thing. Prayer could also be a type of meditation. And to me, it would depend on the type of prayer it is, like sitting still in the presence of God, where you're not asking God for anything, you're not complaining about anything, you're just there waiting in the presence of God, would, I think, be a fantastic form of silent meditation. Other people achieve similar things not through sitting and praying or contemplating, but by being active. And I'll never forget, years ago, I came across this Catholic book called Prayer and Temperament. And this author had taken the four classic temperaments from the ancient Greeks, Hippocrates, we talked about last week, the phlegmatic, sanguine, melancholy, choleric, and he attached them to different saints in the Catholic canon. And what he explained was, because we're all wired differently and have different temperaments, some types of prayer would be excruciating for certain temperament types. So, for example, if you're like melancholy or phlegmatic, group or corporate prayer would probably drive you crazy. But if you're sanguine, you would love group prayer because you're getting to talk, you're getting to share, you're getting to interact with others. Or maybe if you're choleric, just sitting there not doing anything for an hour-long prayer meeting would drive you crazy. A much better type of prayer for you might be going down to the rescue mission, or serving meals, or taking blankets to the homeless, or visiting shut-ins, where you're physically out doing something. But it still could be prayerful, right? It's simply prayer in motion instead of in stillness. For a melancholy, maybe prayer is through arts, or music, or painting a picture, or dance, or there's all different sorts of ways we can do this. I'll never forget, I heard this guy, it was actually a yogi say, active meditation is 1,000 times more profitable than passive meditation, where you're actually out doing something in the world and you're not just sitting staring at the end of your own nose. But there may be a place for that as well. Labyrinth walking, that's making kind of a comeback, where people will actually go through these like medieval labyrinths, and they'll meditate on maybe perhaps some own binding in their own lives, or trying to find a breakthrough. If you're familiar with the Catholic tradition, going through the stations of the cross, of the suffering of Jesus and what he went through, and meditating on his life and work. I know that's very common. And then I put death meditations on both sides because that's one of my personal favorites, but I'll talk about that when we get to the Eastern. So on the Eastern side, we have mantras, which is often like repeating a phrase that could be given to you by your guru. Sometimes they might encourage you to come up with your own. I've heard a lot of different things about mantras, and I'm not enough of a specialist. On the extreme negative side, I've heard Christian apologists say it's like the names of Hindu deities or demons, and you're, by chanting their name, you're like summoning them. I don't know about that. I think often a mantra could be something as simple as a saying to fix your attention on. I've met many people who converted from an Eastern tradition that will use the Lord's Prayer like a mantra, or Psalms 23 like a mantra, or some people use the Rosary like a mantra, right? Where they're just repeating over and over again, and it's giving them something to fix their thoughts on. And it provides a certain level of meditation and technique.